Breaking news. Viking Nation. The first revelation is about to detonate inside US Bank Stadium and shake the entire NFC North to its core. Something unprecedented just happened in Minneapolis. Something that hasn't been seen in the history of professional football. And it's about to change everything we thought we knew about this purple and gold dynasty. A defensive superstar just rewrote the record books in ways that defy belief. A franchise cornerstone battles through uncertainty that could determine our season's fate. A veteran quarterback just achieved something no player in NFL history has ever accomplished across 6 different franchises. Our young signal caller faces a timeline that will test every ounce of Viking warrior spirit, and the most explosive defensive performance ever witnessed is sending shockwaves through every rival locker room from Green Bay to Chicago. Each of these revelations could redefine the future of this team and prove why Viking Nation stands stronger than any force in the league. The storm brewing in Minneapolis isn't just changing our season, it's rewriting NFL history itself. And what you're about to witness will leave you speechless. If you bleed purple and gold more than you hate the Packers, brace yourself for the first bombshell that's about to flip everything upside down. But hold on, as shocking as that is, the next update cuts even deeper into the heart of what makes this franchise unstoppable. Sunday's demolition of the Cincinnati Bengals wasn't just a victory, it was a statement written in blood and thunder that echoed through every corner of the NFL. The final score read 48-10, but those numbers barely scratched the surface of the absolute domination that unfolded under the bright lights of US Bank Stadium. Isaiah Rodgers didn't just have a good game, he delivered the most historic defensive performance in the history of professional football, becoming the first player ever to record the defensive touchdowns and the forced fumbles in a single game. Think about that for a moment. Viking Warriors, in over 100 years of NFL football, through every legendary defender who ever laced up cleats, nobody had ever achieved what Rodgers accomplished in the span of 30 minutes. His first touchdown came on a spectacular interception return, where Harrison Smith's veteran instincts tipped Jake Browning's pass directly into Rodgers' waiting arms, and he treated that football like a punt return, weaving through Bengal defenders with the fury of a true Viking berserker. But that was just the appetizer for what came next. A fumbled recovery that turned into a 66-yard house call that had the entire stadium erupting. Like Mount Vesuvius, Rodgers didn't just strip the ball away with a simple peanut punch. He ripped it free with the violence of a warrior claiming his spoils, scooped it up, and sprinted 66 yards through the heart of Cincinnati's broken defense, while 70,000 purple-clad faithful roared their approval. By halftime, the Vikings had built a crushing 30-3 lead, and Rodgers had already cemented his place in franchise history as the first defender ever to score multiple defensive touchdowns in a regular season game. Jordan Mason bulldozed his way to 116 rushing yards on just 16 carries, proving that the Vikings' ground game transformation is real and terrifying for every defense in the NFC. Jonathan Greenard and Dallas Turner terrorized the Bengals' offensive line with relentless pressure. That forced Jake Browning into panic mode, while Christian Darasaw's return to the lineup provided the protection that allowed this offensive explosion to unfold. This wasn't just a victory, it was a declaration of war against every team that dared to question whether the Vikings could match last season's 14-win dominance. How do you think the Packers felt watching this beatdown? How do you think the Bears reacted when they saw what's coming for them? If you believe in the Vikings more than you hate every team in green and gold, smash that subscribe button right now and show the football world that Viking Nation fears nobody and backs down to nothing. The question isn't whether this team can compete, it's whether anyone in the NFC can survive what's coming next. And just when fans thought it couldn't get crazier, here comes the next bombshell that strikes at the very foundation of what makes this offense lethal. Christian Darasaw remained shrouded in uncertainty, and that cloud hanging over the left tackle position could determine whether this Viking ship sails toward glory or crashes against the rocks of unfulfilled potential. After tearing his ACL during Week 8 against the Los Angeles Rams, Darasaw has been battling back for nearly 11 months, and the patience of Viking Nation is wearing thinner than the ice on Lake Minnetonka. The franchise cornerstone participated in full practices on Wednesday and Friday, took his planned rest day on Thursday, and since listed as questionable for what could be the most crucial game of the early season. But here's where it gets interesting. Viking Warriors. Darasaw himself admitted to reporters that he needs to trust his body and be really intelligent with it, revealing that the mental battle is just as fierce as the physical recovery. "If I was ready, I'd be out there playing on Sundays," he confessed. And those words carry the weight of 1,000 unsaid truths about the psychological warfare that comes with rebuilding confidence in a reconstructed knee. Coach *** Kevin O'Connell *** maintains that the team has a plan in place, but that plan hinges entirely on whether their all-pro left tackle can summon the mental fortitude to trust what his surgically repaired knee can handle. The stakes couldn't be higher. If Darasaw can't go, the Vikings will turn to either Walter Rouse or potentially Blake Brandel at left tackle, a significant downgrade against a pass rush that could expose every weakness in Minnesota's protection scheme. But if Darasaw does take the field, it transforms the entire offense into the unstoppable force that terrorized the league last season. Think about the ripple effects here. Without their elite left tackle, the Vikings' Super Bowl aspiration could crumble before they even hit October. With him anchoring that line, this team becomes a legitimate threat to demolish every defense from here to the playoffs. The mental aspect of ACL recovery is often the final and most difficult hurdle, and Darasaw is still climbing that mountain with the hopes of an entire franchise riding on his shoulders. How confident are you that he'll overcome this psychological battle? Do you trust that O'Connell's mystery plan can maximize this team's potential? Regardless of what happens, if you're ready to ride with the Vikings through every storm and uncertainty, hit that like button and prove that Viking Nation stands united through every trial by fire. But trust me, the story only gets darker from here. The next twist will leave you speechless about what desperation and determination can accomplish in this league. While uncertainty swirls around the left tackle position, the quarterback room tells a completely different story of resilience and unprecedented achievement. Carson Wentz just shattered an NFL record that seemed impossible to break, becoming the first quarterback in league history to start for 6 different teams in 6 consecutive seasons. Let that sink in for a moment, Viking faithful. In over 5 decades of modern NFL football, through every journeyman quarterback who bounced around the league chasing opportunities, nobody had ever achieved what Wentz accomplished simply by taking that first snap on Sunday. His incredible journey began in 2020 with his final appearances for the Philadelphia Eagles, continued through Indianapolis Colts in 2021, Washington Commanders in 2022, Kansas City Chiefs in 2023, Los Angeles Rams in 2024, and now reaches its historic peak with the Minnesota Vikings in 2025. This isn't just a testament to Wentz's perseverance, it's a symbol of what happens when talent meets opportunity in the most unforgiving league in professional sports. The Vikings signed Wentz as a free agent at the end of August after trading Sam Howell, ironically back to Philadelphia, and immediately thrust him into a starting role when J.J. McCarthy went down with an ankle injury. The matchup against Cincinnati represented a battle of backup quarterbacks, with Wentz facing Jake Browning in a contest that could define the trajectory of both franchises' seasons. But here's what makes this story even more remarkable. Wentz wasn't just filling in as a placeholder. He was stepping into a legitimate contender's offense and carrying the hopes of a fan base that expects nothing less than championship-level performance. The pressure of starting for a 6th different team in as many years would crush most quarterbacks, but Wentz has transformed that burden into fuel for what could become the most improbable comeback story of the season. Think about the mental toughness required to constantly adapt to new systems, new teammates, and new expectations while maintaining the confidence necessary to lead grown men into battle. Every snap represents another chapter in a journey that has taken him from franchise savior in Philadelphia to journeyman survivor across 5 different cities. How many quarterbacks could handle that kind of instability and still perform when it matters most? How many could walk into a Vikings locker room in September and immediately command the respect needed to lead a Super Bowl contender? If you respect the grind and appreciate what it takes to survive in this league, drop a comment and tell us which Wentz stop impressed you the most before he landed in Minnesota. And listen, the next chapter is the kind of news that divides a fan base right down the middle and tests every ounce of patience that Viking Nation possesses. While Wentz makes NFL history with his unprecedented 6th team, the quarterback, he's replacing battles through his own timeline of uncertainty that could reshape the entire season's trajectory. J.J. McCarthy suffered an ankle sprain during the week to victory over Atlanta, and the young signal caller now faces a 2 to 4 week recovery period that will test both his physical resilience and mental preparation for what lies ahead. According to CBS Sports' Tracy Wolfson, McCarthy will travel with the team during their upcoming games and is targeting a return for the Week 7 matchup against Philadelphia Eagles. Though the timeline could accelerate if his recovery progresses ahead of schedule, the strategic decision to avoid placing McCarthy on injured reserve demonstrates the Vikings' confidence that this setback is temporary rather than season-altering. But it also means the franchise's future rests in the hands of their record-setting backup, while their drafted successor watches from the sidelines. McCarthy's early season struggles, completing just 58.5% of his passes for 301 yards to touchdowns and 3 interceptions, suddenly take on different meaning when viewed through the lens of a young quarterback learning to navigate NFL defenses while dealing with the physical demands that ultimately led to his injury. The timing couldn't be more challenging for a Vikings team that won 14 games last season and entered 2025 with legitimate Super Bowl aspiration riding on McCarthy's development. His historic fourth-quarter performance against Chicago in Week 1 offered glimpses of the elite potential that made him a first-round selection, but the subsequent inconsistencies remind everyone that rookie quarterbacks rarely follow linear development paths. The Week 6 bye provides an additional week for healing without missing another game, but it also extends the period where Minnesota's championship hopes depend on veteran leadership rather than their long-term franchise cornerstone. This injury timeline creates fascinating questions about the Vikings' identity moving forward. Does a successful run with Wentz under center prove they're built to win now, regardless of quarterback? Or does it simply buy time for McCarthy to return stronger and more prepared for the playoff push? The pressure on McCarthy will be immense when he does return, knowing that Wentz's performance during his absence will serve as the measuring stick for what this offense can accomplish. How confident are you that McCarthy can return from this ankle injury and reclaim his starting role without missing a beat? Do you think this extended time watching from the sidelines will actually benefit his development by allowing him to study the game without the pressure of performing? If you believe J.J. McCarthy is still the future of this franchise and will come back stronger than ever, show that faith by smashing the subscribe button and proving that Viking Nation believes in our young warrior's journey. And listen closely, the next 72 hours might be the most decisive in this franchise's history, because what we just witnessed from Isaiah Rodgers wasn't just a breakout performance. It was a seismic shift that announced the arrival of a genuine superstar who could carry this defense all the way to the promised land. After the brutal loss to Atlanta that left every Viking fan questioning whether this team could live up to last season's expectations, Rodgers delivered an answer that echoed through every corner of the NFL and sent shockwaves through every rival front office from Green Bay to Detroit. His first-half performance against Cincinnati didn't just break records. It obliterated them with the force of 1,000 Viking warhammers crashing down on enemy shields. 3 tackles, the forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 1 interception, 1 pass defended, and the touchdowns. Those numbers read like a video game simulation, not real-life football statistics from a player in just his first season wearing purple and gold. The pick six that opened the scoring was a thing of beauty, with Harrison Smith's veteran instincts creating the opportunity and Rodgers displaying the return skills that made Brian Flores target him, specifically during free agency. But the fumble recovery touchdown that followed was pure artistry. Rodgers didn't just strip the ball away with a simple defensive move. He attacked that football like a Viking berserker claiming his rightful prize, ripped it free with violent precision, and then transformed into a 66-yard sprint that had US Bank Stadium shaking like an earthquake, by becoming the first player in NFL history to record the touchdowns and the forced fumbles. In the same game, Rodgers didn't just make history. He announced his arrival as a legitimate Defensive Player of the Year candidate who could single-handedly change the trajectory of this franchise. Brian Flores' faith in Rodgers, dating back to his UMass days, has been vindicated in the most spectacular fashion possible, proving that elite defensive coordinators recognize elite talent long before the rest of the league catches up. He's been on my radar since he was at UMass, a fast playmaker, Flores said during training camp, and those words now carry the weight of prophecy fulfilled. The synergy between Rodgers, Byron Murphy Jr., Harrison Smith, and Josh Metellus has created a secondary that could terrorize opposing quarterbacks for years to come. But it's Rodgers who has emerged as the game-changing catalyst who turns good defensive plays into championship-defining moments. This performance wasn't just about individual excellence. It was about a player stepping into his destiny and carrying an entire franchise on his shoulders when they needed it most. The Defensive Player of the Week award seems like a foregone conclusion, but that's just the beginning of what could become a legendary season for a cornerback who has transformed from late-round survivor to superstar in the span of 3 weeks. How many times have we seen a single performance completely change a player's career trajectory? How often does a defense discover the final piece that transforms them from good to historically great? If you witness greatness unfold before your eyes, I believe Isaiah Rodgers is just getting started on his path to Canton. Hammer that like button and show the football world that Viking Nation recognizes elite talent when we see it. The question isn't whether Rodgers can sustain this level of excellence. It's whether the rest of the NFC can survive what's coming when this defense reaches its full potential. And if this week felt like an earthquake, what's coming next could be the aftershock that topples the entire season and sends shock waves through every championship conversation from now until February. Because Viking Nation is rising, and nobody, absolutely nobody, is ready for the storm that's about to be unleashed across the National Football League. Think this was wild? Just wait until the rivals make their counter move, because that war is only beginning. Every single revelation we've covered today proves that this franchise isn't just competing for playoff spots or wild card berths. They're building something legendary that will be remembered long after the confetti falls in February. From Rodgers rewriting the record books to Wentz proving that champions find ways to contribute, regardless of the circumstances. From Darasaw battling through uncertainty to McCarthy preparing for his triumphant return. From a defense that terrorizes opposing offenses to a ground game that bulldozes through anything in its path. This is what championship DNA looks like when it's forged in the fires of competition. But here's what separates Viking Nation from every other fan base in this league. We don't just watch greatness unfold. We become part of it by supporting our warriors through every battle, every setback, and every moment of triumph that defines what it means to be unstoppable. If you believe that purple and gold runs deeper than any other colors in professional sports, if you know the skull means more than just a cheer, but represents the warrior spirit that lives in every true Viking fan, if you're ready to ride with this team all the way to the promised land, regardless of what obstacles stand in our path, then right now is your moment to prove it. Smash that subscribe button like you're driving through a Packers defense. Hit that like button harder than Jonathan Greenard hitting a quarterback, and drop a comment that shows the entire football world why Viking Nation fears nobody and backs down to nothing. Because when February arrives and this team is holding up that Lombardi trophy, you'll know that you were here from the beginning, supporting every warrior who helped make championship dreams become championship reality. And listen closely, the next 72 hours might be the most decisive in this franchise's history. Stay tuned, stay loyal, and get ready for the ride of your life. Because Viking Nation is about to show the entire NFL what happens when warriors unite behind a common cause. Skol!